So we're going to finish the chapter. This has been one of the longest chapters. Interesting that it's Igeres HaKodesh 27, which is all about the Tzaddik after his lifetime and how appropriate it is, especially for Chabad and Breslov. Shabbos, I was in Chicago. We did a Shabbaton in Chicago, actually in a suburb of Chicago, Highland Park. Rabbi Yossi Shanowitz is the Rav, the Shliach. So I spoke a little bit about this chapter and what we're learning, and told them that, as I've told you over the years, that the four Hasidic groups that go ben achar ben, son after son, or son-in-law, but direct to the Magid, are Chernobyl, Breslov, Chabad, and Karlin Stolin. The rest come from students of the Magid. So let's say Baviv. Baviv come from the Kedusha Sion, who comes from his grandfather, who was a student of Rabbi Melech of Liarzinsk. Rabbi Melech. Right? But the Chernobler, Rab Nochem Chernobler, was the oldest student of the Magid, hence the Chernobyl dynasty is direct. Karlin is Rab Shlomo Karliner, Chabad is the Balatanya, and Breslov is Rab Nachman. So, regardless, what the Alter Rebbe speaks about in Chav Zayin here applies to every tzaddik, regardless if they're direct or indirect. It's every tzaddik. Alter Rebbe speaks about how one can bind himself and connect and receive, as the Holy Zohar says, yatir mi b'chayai, more than during the lifetime, which is a very, very startling statement. When a person's alive, you see them and you hear them, and you would think you get more. Here it says you get more after life. And I want to say, before we continue inside, that when the Zohar HaKodesh says a statement, it's not, as unfortunately some people who don't understand or don't want to understand, don't appreciate, it's not like, Bubba Mice's fantasies, exaggerations. It's true. Now, doesn't mean we understand it necessarily. And so Chabad Hasidus in particular really spends a lot of time on trying to understand these statements. So this chapter is a good example. How would a non-Chabad Chassid, most other Hasidim, take this statement in the Zohar, that a Tzaddik Moshe is more alive after his passing than before? I mean, just go out in the street and ask your friends, and you'll see how they explain it. They don't really explain it, whatever. The Alter Rebbe spends, here we've been learning 6-7 classes on it. He goes into details, and he talks about the levels of the tzaddik, the levels of the neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, and where is the tzaddik's neshama level during his lifetime? Where's the tzaddik's level after lifetime? How do we connect to the tzaddik? Through our love, our faith, love, and awe. And that binds us to the tzaddik who has a higher faith, love, and awe. And then he's mashpiyah to us. I'm just saying that the entire discussion shows us. This is what shows that when you learn a piece of Zohar HaKodesh, it's not just holy words. By the Sfardim, their tradition is, you all know this, that the words of the Zohar HaKodesh on their own are holy, and you don't need to understand just to read Zohar. Like we read Tehillim, they read Zohar. Okay? Ashkenazim, we don't have that tradition. We want to understand the Zohar, but nevertheless, most people don't. it's Aramaic. It's hard language. It's written, in a secretive manner, in a sense. It seems far out. But when you take the Tanya and you see how the Alter Rebbe, the Balatanya, takes certain select ideas throughout the Tanya, which come from Zohar, you see that he takes a very different approach. He takes the Chabad approach to the Zohar. And this is what I told you that story. Someone said he wants to learn Chassidus, but he wants to learn Tiferes Shleima of the Radomsker Tzaddik. I said, fine. And as we started, he said, this we have to skip. I said, why? Because it's Kabbalah, and I was taught in yeshiva, Kabbalah you skip. Okay, I skipped the first 2 lines, 3 lines. We went on a few lines further. There was more Kabbalah. He says, we have to skip this. And so basically we skipped most of the page. I said, I can't learn with you. I can't, because to me, reading something and just shaking your head and getting inspired is very nice, but it's not my system of learning. If it's brought down in a sefer of Chassidus, it's meant to be understood. Yes, Hillel.
I'm actually wanting to go back on my computer. Yeah, I want to go back to when you were talking about the 4 traditions of students of the Maggid. Did Reb Nachman of Breslov was a Talmud of the Maggid? Because that I'm not familiar with. All the others I know.
Well, he wasn't a Talmud, but he was a grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. You know that.
Right.
He was a grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, direct grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. And yeah.
So meaning it's an authoritative Hasidic tradition that goes back to the Baal Shem Tov. I'm interested in whether there was a connection between the Maggid and Reb Nachman, because I've never heard of that.
Right. I thought of that too, and frankly, I would like to investigate that more. Maybe someone has done that already. Listen, he was 27 years. I figured it out. He was 27 years younger than the Balatanya. The Balatanya was the youngest student of the Maggid, the youngest.
Right.
What year? I don't remember now. What year was Reb Nachman born? So we have to know first what year he was born. I think he was born during the lifetime of the Maggid. Does anyone remember? We have to take a look at. But what I meant is that being a grandson, an actual grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, so kind of we could place his Hasidism as more direct from the Baal Shem Tov.
Okay.
But even though you're right, he didn't have the Maggid as his teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just his style is so different than the Talmidei HaMaggid, Chernobyl.
Right. Right. Yeah. So it's something to actually look at, and Mr. Shem, hopefully I could do that at some point. In other words, this is the question. Where did Reb Nachman get his style of teaching Hasidus? The Breslover, from my understanding, they always say, the learned Breslover, that Breslov is Kesser. Chabad is Chabad, we are Kesser, above Chabad. So, again, if I understand that idea, they're saying, one second. Yes, sir. What they're saying is, in other words, Reb Nachman had his own mahalach. I think that's what really they're saying. In other words, they're saying that he was so creative that he created, but that's what we have to look at. Is that factual, or who was his Rebbe? Did he have a teacher? Do we know if he had a teacher? What?
I would insert the name of Horodonker.
Oh, yes, right. I know you. Yes, I forget the first name, Horodonker, and he was a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov, I think.
Yeah, okay.
And I think he's buried in Tveria. That Haradonker, I think is buried in Tveria. Yes, now you remind me. I think he is credited to be the teacher of Rab Nachman. Okay. Hey, Issa, what do you want to say?
I was going to say, parenthetically, I heard the Rebbe from Boston say once that Boston is Malchus.
Oh, yeah?
We're filling out the tree.
Very good. Did he explain, or?
He didn't explain, but the implication was that, we receive from others. And put it into action.
But what, to who does the Boston dynasty attribute itself back?
Lelov. Boston is a branch of Lelov.
Lelov? I thought it goes back to the Nickelsburger. No?
He does, yeah. He's the Rebbe was the seventh generation after Rabbi Shmelk.
Rabbi Shmelk of Nickelsburg. So what does Rabbi Shmelk of Nickelsburg have to do with Lelov?
Okay, so the first Rebbe from Boston was the nephew of the Lelov Rebbe in Yerushalayim, and his Rebbe was his uncle.
Really?
And
Interesting.
And then Hagim were mostly Lelov, with some was stolen. He was very influenced by stolen.
But again, but we're saying that
by lineage it goes
back to Shmelk of Nickelsburg.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you're saying that his teacher was not. I understand. Okay, let me finish. Page 294. So here we are on the fourth line. The Alter Rebbe says an interesting thing here, an amazing thing actually, saying that with Talmidim, with students of a tzaddik, if things are done in the right way, they can merit even to receive from the source of where the tzaddik gets his effluence, his ashpah. Look over here what he says. V'ha'ora zu shaleim is the fourth line, the last three words. V'ha'ora zu shaleim, and this emanation that comes upon the students, milamayla, machneses belibam, it enters the students' hearts, the hirhurei tshuva, thoughts of tshuva, umaisim toivim. You hear that, Chevra? An amazing thing. The tzaddik, when we connect to a tzaddik, and we have that mesiras nefesh for the tzaddik will give us something that's so powerful, i.e., hirhurei tshuva. Help us with thoughts of tshuva. Help us with maisim toivim. The chol maisim toivim anel l'ma'orazu, and all such good deeds coming from this emanation in particular, shemi'ira me'oiris hazruim besodeh hanaum, which shine forth from the plantation in the field mentioned before. Hillel, you were in here yesterday. We spoke about the holy apples, chakal, tapuch, and kadishin, which you say in Zmiros every Shabbos, correct? Those.
Yeah, I've always understood that that's the apple a day that keeps the doctor away.
Very good. So where does this apple? Here, sir, it keeps the doctor away. Anyway, where did these apples, these holy apples, they are in a field, because there's a field, a tree in a field, and there's apples on the tree. So the Alter Rebbe teaches, listen to this, Chevra, that this is the Maisim Tovim. The Maisim Tovim that are planted in the field, they bring forth good apples, spiritually speaking. And Nikra, they're called Giduli Gidulin, growth of growths. Lots of growth, lots of apples. Va'orazu hi behelem vehester godel. But this ha'ora is normally very concealed, in a very great concealment. When the sun shines to the stars beneath the Aretz, beneath the earth, meaning, so you don't see the shine. But really, the shine of the sun is illuminating those stars. K'di'isa b'tikunim, as it says in Tikunim, al Moshe Rabbeinu v'Shalom, regarding Moshe, she'achar p'tirosai, after he passed away, mispashetes ha'arosai, Moshe's essence extends itself, spreads itself, an emanation of it spreads itself b'chol dora v'dora in each generation, l'shishim riboy neshamis, to the 600,000 souls, k'may shemesh, just as the sun, hameir mitachlas la'aretz, which shines below the earth, l'shishim riboy kechavim, to 600,000 stars. You guys can, I mean, what is that physically in science? How does that work? Could you tell me what the Alter Rebbe means that the sun shines b'tachlis la'aretz? Maybe you could explain that to me a little better. No, it doesn't. It doesn't scientifically. It doesn't make sense. Isn't the sun giving some light to the moon? Isn't there that concept? No.
It certainly
reflects the light of the sun.
In terms of the sun radiating to the moon, because the moon doesn't give its own light.
Okay.
But other stars, they give their own light.
They do give their own light, as far as we understand in scientific.
Okay, so.
But I think the point, what I understand the point he's making here is that Tzaddik's like that his light shines into Dore Doros, like the sun radiates to the moon.
Okay, yes, so that is the overall point. But what I want to point out is that he says here what I see is interesting, 2 points. One is, he says that's Behelim v'Hester Godel. In other words, when a tzaddik passes away, he passes away. It's a big helim. We had this discussion this Shabbos in Chicago. It's like someone asked, is this the 8th generation of Chabad? Someone who, it was his birthday, why I was asked to come for the Shabbaton, and he's a very outspoken 90-year-old man, a very wealthy man, and a smart man. He didn't make his money from being a fool, that's for sure. And, so he sometimes can be a troublemaker. But he asked this question like in a positive way. He said, the Rebbe passed away, so if there were 7, first of all, he says, do we find this concept of generations, 7 generations in other Hasidic movements? That was a good question. The answer is no, not really. In other words, in Chabad, it's so formal. You hear them, we talk about the first, the second, and the third. It's like, and then with the Rebbe, when he began, it's called in Hebrew, the Dor HaShvi, until today in the Chabad Yeshivot, this is a very, very, it's the message, So his question was, does such a similar idea exist in other Hasidic movements? As far as I know, the answer is no. Number 2, by and large, by most Hasidic groups. And number two, shouldn't it be the 8th generation? So according to what it says here, I said to him, it's funny you asked me the question because I'm teaching this to my students. According to what Alter Rebbe says here, the Alter Rebbe says that even after a tzaddik's passing, we have all of these issues which are very real. So Chabad takes that very literally, and in this situation, because then you'll ask, well, why when the Frierdiker Rebbe passed away, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, do you say and the Rebbe took over, it's the 7th generation? No, the same Tanya belongs to the Frierdiker Rebbe and his Hasidim as it does to the Rebbe and his Hasidim. And the answer is because, what's the answer? Because the Rebbe didn't have children and didn't leave it over someone else and didn't make an appointment of someone else. And of course, there are those that say, okay, too bad. Just because he decided not to speak about it for whatever reason, and it doesn't mean that. But most Chabadniks, almost all, don't say that, don't agree with that. But regardless, what we do see is it's Behelam Behester Godel. That's my point. Even though Hillel, like you said, that the ha'ora, the emanation of the tzaddik is b'chol dara v'dara, it still causes, it's concealed. It's concealed. And on one hand, there's a pain. You want to see your tzaddik, you want to hear your tzaddik, like I admitted to them from the podium, Shabbos. There's no question. But at the same time, if this is the Ratzon Hashem, then this is the will of Hashem. And you need to not just accept it, because accepting means, I really don't agree, but understand that this is the Ratzon Hashem. And finally, the last point, and I'll finish with this, is that the Alter Rebbe is saying, like you say, that if you're connected and you want to connect yourself, you can get from the highest place of the tzaddik. And that's a consolement for us. That's a comfort for us. Chaver will continue tomorrow in the next chapter. Sei gesund. Have a good day.
I just want to say, that when one of the things that it so inspires me about Chabad as a movement, and just as somebody who studied leadership and so on, is it seemed to me that one of the great emphasis of the Rebbe's that everybody has the potential to be leaders.
Yeah, and the Rebbe and Hillel, the Rebbe in particular, said that when he accepted the leadership in January of 1951. At the beginning, he said exactly what you just said. So it all comes together. Okay, Chaver, Sei gesund, see everyone tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.